Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Night of the Nerdy Laser Podcast, episode 64. I am Matt Henry.
I am Richard. Damn it, it's ants, you little buddy. I can't remember. I wrote it down. I thought the phrase was funny. Yule.
And I'm Jeff Brown.
Coming to us live from Studio 54, Jeff Lown.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm Matt feeling woozy Henry. Because everybody in this movie feels fairly woozy for most of this film.
What do you mean, woozy?
It's the poison in the ants.
It's the poison in the ants. The old
little
lady's
damn,
woozy.
Little damn ants, buddy. That's what he says.
Is that what they're referred to?
There's one point where he goes, "It's little damn ants, buddy."
So we are watching the most non-threatening horror movie that has ever existed, and that is Ants. No. These are not bullet ants. No. These are.
It's not them.
This is not them. This is not Empire of the Ants. This is House Ants. We are watching Ants.
A bunch of house ants, though.
Or ants, as it was redistributed as in the 2000s.
Oh, wait,
because at one point
it happened at Lakewood Manor. I think.
Exactly.
There was.
There was. It happened at Lakewood Manor, and then in 2004 on DVD it was Ants, and then on Blu-ray recently it's Ants. Because it has an exclamation point. So this has had 3 times.
Boob ants.
Is that Suzanne Summers' boob?
I doubt it. Fun facts: Suzanne Summers was not top billing. You know, she was just kind of a side character. But by the time the movie came out on VHS, like Three's Company happened. So they were like, Suzanne Summers is in this.
I was thinking maybe Step by Step.
No. It was earlier than that. So the cast. I mean, you recognize some of the cast, right?
Do you? I recognize nobody except for one guy.
The guy from Prophecy. The main guy from Prophecy is in this movie.
The dude from
Robert
Cocoon.
Foxworth, or are you talking?
Yes. Yeah, Robert Foxworth is in this movie. He's the lead guy in Prophecy. He's the lead guy in this.
The one that stuck out to me is the fire chief, Brian Dennehy.
Oh, Brian Dennehy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And his name is Bernie Casey.
Oh yeah,
Bill and Ted, and
Revenge of
Under
the
Siege.
Yeah.
He's in Under Siege too.
But this is 1977, right?
Yep.
Okay, this feels like 1977. This feels
it
like
feels every bit.
Yeah,
every
that
bit
would have
of
came on right after Chips. I don't know if Chips.
No,
was
this
70s
was a Sunday.
or was that 80s.
70s. This was I mean, like TV movies usually came on Sundays, right? In the 8 o'clock slot. I mean, that's what I remember, like with it and some of the TV movies that came out in the 80s and 90s. My favorite TV movie, because I love Archie, is To Riverdale and Back Again. And I remember staying up on a Sunday night watching that movie. And I mean, they were adults at this point. So, I mean, I was a kid. So it's like, what am I watching? Like, I don't know what a high school reunion is, but is that?
There was a TV show about Archie before our modern day take of Riverdale.
Oh, I mean, well, Archie's been around for, decades. I mean, the 50s probably. So you had an animated show of Archie, and there was a pilot edition of Archie. It was a pilot. You can find it on YouTube, I think. It was done in the 50s or 60s, probably 60s.
Were they all having sex in that too?
It was too close. No, it was too close to a show called Dobie Gillis, which I love. So it never got picked up. But then the Archies had a cartoon, and obviously the comics had been around. Live action, they only had that TV movie. And did you ever see the show Reba?
Yes.
Her ex-husband was Archie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Who's Jughead? Is that a guy?
It's not
Jughead is a
anybody
guy,
famous.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the actor is nobody famous, but yes, Jughead is his best friend that likes to eat hamburgers.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I don't know why we're getting off on a Riverdale tangent, but there is
because that's what we do.
but I have a huge issue with these modern day retellings of these shows like Sabrina and Riverdale, where they're just all like way overly sexualized about teenagers. It's like I could not watch the Sabrina show after like the 5th episode when there was a witch orgy in the woods.
We watched the first season and then that was it.
I didn't watch any of that.
Done.
Although I did like that, what's her name, like Shipka or something like that, the main girl that plays Sabrina.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
and then really good in Blackcoat's Daughter. I thought that was really good movie.
I don't know what that is.
It was February originally, and then they retitled it to Blackcoat's Daughter.
I think this movie should be called OSHA 911 because the opening of this movie has the most ridiculous death.
No,
in it.
But it's the 70s too. OSHA probably didn't exist at this point, to be honest. So you have to remember that it's the 70s, and there was a sign. And there was a sign that said, "Don't go here." That was enough back then.
Well, it begs to ask the question: why was the first guy down there? We know why the second guy.
Help! Help!
Yeah.
He's like, "What, Charlie? Charlie!"
I love how he gets buried by 5 foot of dirt. Like I've been buried by more dirt at the beach.
He probably could have got out.
Yeah. Most definitely. Funny little tidbit is the guy who did the stunt for that he had himself buried in the dirt, and he had a hose going from his mouth to the top. This guy later on became like the lead guy for the Screen Actors Guild and like the safety.
It was a very dangerous stunt.
And I think I read somewhere that he said he was just going to do the stunt one time, so they better have the shot because he wasn't doing it again.
It was the most dangerous, undangerous stunt ever. For something to be so dangerous, it looks so meh.
It's not like whoa, like they could have. I don't know. It wasn't that impressive. Where
Tom Cruise has fucked all of us on this kind of stuff.
True.
Spoiled.
Sure.
This guy's bitching about being buried under 3 feet of dirt, and Tom Cruise is like clinging on to planes as they're going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All while wearing his mask.
And then all of a sudden, Dick Van Dyke's son shows up. Is that Dick Van Dyke's son?
Who?
Yeah,
I don't think
the guy. The guy who looks like Fabio.
Are you talking the?
Oh, Barry Van Dyke. Is that his
Barry
son?
Van Dyke? Yes, Dick Van Dyke's son, who looks like a male model. And then this girl is just talking about how she wants to have a place to sleep for the night. Also, these characters play no part in the movie at all. They exist for no reason.
They're all just kind of filler. A lot of characters in there. Man, you gotta appreciate the like kind of sleazy businessman that's trying to come in and take over the place. And Suzanne Summers is his business partner,
his mistress.
Yeah, and she's like, Tony, I want to be business partners.
He's like, rooms. Rooms.
And he's like, nope, you're sleeping with me.
Well, she's like, I don't want to mix business and pleasure. And he's like, how about business and then pleasure? But whenever he gets out of the car, for a guy who's so rich, he like, just to show how sleazy he is, he turns around and he goes back to the chauffeur and he's like, hey, just so you know, I'm paying you by the hour, so don't
Don't
stop off
stop
for a
at them.
beer, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
I
also
mean-
hands a business card and he's like, let him know I'm here. And he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know who you are. Nobody knows who you are. Land
But
baron.
don't you wish TV movies like this existed, or like, do I just take sci-fi for granted?
No, I love this stuff.
Yeah,
This was
it's so
horrible. I
good.
thought this was horrible.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I mean, I guess horrible like in a
I
good
thought-
way.
I thought the music was great.
Dude,
Of course.
there was a conversation in this movie. Okay, so we meet there's a woman and her mother that kind of run this resort of sorts. It just looks like a giant mansion. And we meet the mother. She's in a wheelchair. She doesn't want to let go of this property. And the daughter wants to sell. She wants to move away with her and her boyfriend, who she also talks to like he's a piece of shit the first time they interact with each other. But we'll get to that in a second.
Well, she has to. She doesn't want anybody to know that they're dating.
Why?
Because he's just a construction worker. She's too good for him.
Yeah, he's blue collar, she's white collar. It's just not going to work out.
Man, her
Never.
privilege is showing. So, she's having a conversation with her mother, and her mother doesn't want to let the property go. I fell asleep twice during this mother's monologue, and here's how the mother's monologue went. This is how fucking boring it was. She said, "There's a lot of history here. You see that cuckoo clock over there? I'll never forget the day your dad got shown that cuckoo clock by his mother." Then there's a pause. And then it cooed and we all laughed.
Hey, that's a lot of excitement back in the 70s. We weren't oversaturated with craziness and
It's not over yet, because then she follows it with, he had a menu here that he described as delectable.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
I'm like, someone put this old wheelchair bound lady out of her misery.
I'm not gonna lie. When they're towards the end, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, they're kind of evacuating people certain ways. When they
I
take
love
the
it.
first lady on the ladder from the
Oh no!
I looked away for 1 second and I thought that was the mom in the wheelchair dangling. I was like, whoa, what happened? What happened?
No, whenever they put her in the bucket, I thought it was gonna be. Have you seen that? Have you seen that YouTube video of that old woman that got lost in the woods and was rescued by a helicopter, and then they put her in a bucket and the air starts hitting it?
Oh,
and
it's
spinning
just like
out of
rocketing. Yes, I have seen. I thought the bucket was gonna tip and the old lady was just gonna fall out of it.
I thought that too, yeah, no, I was like, well, her legs are working fine now that she's dangling and using like all of her strength to pull herself up. But
That's one of my favorite scenes because I'm like, this fire department should be fired. Like, what the hell are they doing? Like, why did they? First off, she was here. We're on video on YouTube that you can now check. Just look up Night of the Nerdy Laser on YouTube. But you can, she's here, and like 5 feet away, the ladder stops. And so she
He's
falls
just like,
out. He's just like, here, I got your hand.
take my hand.
And then she falls out, but then the ladder doesn't retract, and they don't climb down the ladder.
just
It
swing.
goes up. It goes at a more dangerous level. And
All right, if we
this
put her in the
ladder
mirror,
is like
she'll slide down.
straight up. This ladder is like straight up like that. And then she kind of swings around, and they're like, woo, that was close. It's like, it was ridiculous.
No. You know who should really lose their job is whoever is flying the helicopter, because we go through a whole ordeal where I know we're jumping all over the place,
Oh
but
God, I don't
we go
care.
through a
It's so
whole
good.
ordeal where they're like, We need to contain the ants. We need to build a moat, fill it with gasoline, and light it on fire. And then the helicopter gets there and just blows the ants all over everybody.
And everybody's screaming. There's ants everywhere. And then they get the fire hose and douse the ground with the fire hose.
It's like, what's water gonna do? They can build a land bridge. I don't.
Right? It was another part where I looked away, and I was like, "Oh, they sprayed gas all over everybody from that fire." I was like,
that's what's funny. It's like that's what's funny about this. They're like, "No, you can't put water. The ants can build a land moat." It's like, how long are you giving them?
Well, in real life, ants will use their own bodies as a land bridge. This is
so they're just like holding hands and letting other people walking across.
Listen, it gets even more weird whenever we have two characters left inside of the house and they're pulling beetles inside of a teepee with like they've ripped off paneling. Yeah. They've rolled it up into what looks like blunts, and they're just sitting there with smoke surrounding them, covered in ants.
Well, that's the best part.
They're on my hand.
What's with this thing though? Why do they need this giant joint?
Well, I guess the thinking was so they could still breathe, but the ants could still easily get in their mouth. I don't really know. But it's funny because when the people come in, we're not making any sense. There's ants in this movie and there's people. That's all you need to know. They're poisonous a little bit. But no, if you get stung a few times, it doesn't matter. But if you're a few hundred times, which fun fact, I don't remember this because I was a baby, but apparently my mother set me on top. I was in my diaper and I was outside, and my mother set me on top of an anthill, and I got covered in ants, and they had to take me to the hospital because I had bumps everywhere. That's what I've heard anyway.
Typically, we always ask each other, "Had you seen this before? Have you guys seen this one before?"
No.
I owned it. I bought it. I bought it before I even saw it, just because. Well, let's take a look at this cover again.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
So, I confused this with, I want to say, the Swarm, which was like killer bees or wasps or something. I thought the Swarm was this. So I have seen this one growing up because I remember the fire moat. I remember the ladder scene, like all that stuff towards the end, because that's essentially,
you can't forget the ladder.
No, like that's. But I had seen this a couple of times. It was on either like Encore or ABC or something, back in the day when they just would play reruns and all that. But yeah, I had seen it, and I was watching it, for the show, and I was like, oh, I've seen this. I've definitely seen this.
So there's a few people that die in this movie. Our first two people, the one guy who there's two characters that get buried by dirt, which we talked about. But whenever they go to the doctor, the first thing I thought is, oh, the doctor is going to see bites all over him. No bites.
They can't figure it out. And I mean, I love watching movies from the 70s because you know just how far like medical science has come. Because like he's literally dying, and the only thing on top of him, they put the oxygen mask on him. That's it. But
this and they inject him with something too.
It is interesting because I mean this is late 70s, and so it is interesting to me that there is an ambulance that basically looks like the ambulances we know. So in the 70s, when ambulances were first put together for the emergency room, they all came into play in the 70s, which is amazing. But the only thing ambulances were used for was to get the person from the point of where whatever happened to the hospital faster.
Mm-hmm.
So they look like station wagons, and they would just literally throw you back there. Both people would get in the front seat and they would drive as fast as they could to the place. But the ambulances now, one's in the back, one's in the front, sometimes more.
And they'd be trying to save your life on the way too.
Yeah. They were trying to get you stabilized to the ER. So it's just interesting that this is late 70s, and I mean we're in that period of time where the ambulance is kind of the ambulances we know today.
So is it like the Family Guy joke where the old 70s ambulances sounded like three guys having sex?
I love I mean my like guilty pleasure is, besides Beverly
Three
Hills
guys
Cop
having
3, is three guys having sex going ee ooh ee. Our old police cars. I love old police cars. Yeah, police cars.
So
are
you
the
must
best.
love. Did you ever watch the old Buford Pussard movies and stuff?
I mean, I've seen one or so. I don't really remember it. They weren't really, but like, I think it all started with Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay, I was about to say, or Dukes of Hazzard, one of the
Yeah.
two. I'm sure.
Yeah, those started.
So, okay, another one of my questions is, they never explain in this movie why the ants themselves are necessarily poisonous.
They created them. We made them go underground and live in this toxic environment. And look what it's done.
What was so toxic, though? It was just a pipe that came from the kitchen.
Well, I don't know what they're cooking at Lakewood Manor. I couldn't
Well,
tell.
okay, so there's a guy that dies in the kitchen. Did they ever find him?
He's just like, they find him dead outside. Also, the kid that falls in the trash can to get bottles to pay.
Great.
My favorite. That's the best. That is my favorite.
Let's talk about him.
We need to see if that kid's alive for FrankenCon. Because a scene breakdown of him trying to get, which that was a real thing. So when my grandma, she lived in like a fancy trailer park down in Florida, and we would walk around and go down to the pool and go through the garbage and get aluminum cans, not glass bottles at this point, and we would make bank off aluminum cans back in the 80s. Now you can't.
No, but yeah, the mom got divorced, and like one other time in the film, he's like, "Oh, Mom, it's all right. I'm going to take care of you now that Dad's not here anymore." And she's like, "Son, don't worry about it." And he's like, "I got these bottles. And she's like, "Oh my God, all right, whatever." So he's like, "Don't worry about it." And then we find him climbing in a trash can. He could have just went to the other side and grabbed it easily, but he's like, reaching like across and falls in. And some of the ants, when they couldn't get ants to just stick on people, it looks like they just sprayed them with water and threw like some dark dirt,
like pepper, like threw them with black
some pepper.
Yeah. Also, there's times whenever people step on ants, touch the ants, they're around the ants are on them, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
Well, you can stand a couple of bites, like 20 bites. But like 200 bites, you got problems.
We learned that from Bernie Casey's character, because he gets his legs bit and then basically becomes paralyzed for 5 seconds. And then he's like, "Oh, all right, now I'm okay." And he just like runs off the other direction.
So he was a football player, right? So I'm assuming this is back in the 70s, whenever every single made-for-TV movie had some kind of famous athletic star.
And a lot of times that's where they went to, yeah.
Yeah,
I think OJ did some.
Did what's his name ever do any? Jenner, Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner movies? Probably not. He wasn't a football player though.
Well, no, but he was an Olympic. I just watched this documentary about it, and I'm like, was he in a movie? Don't think so. She was not in Birdcage. That is for sure. No.
Oh man, I love Birdcage.
Dude, it's one of my faves. It's one of my favorite Robin Williams performances, actually.
Yeah. But do y'all miss like TV movies? I wanted to ask this earlier, but we got off on a tangent. Like, do y'all think it works, or because sci-fi? I mean, technically, sci-fi does them for the most part, or did, or But I mean, do you wish that network did them? Like, because network, I feel like that's something special.
I feel like they evolved to Lifetime movies, most of these, in a sense.
Well,
obviously, it's Lifetime movies more the Ladies Movie Network or whatever, LMN Network, and all that kind of stuff.
I remember back in the my early memory of made for TV movies. I think my first memory would have probably been It. That that's because
Yeah.
I was probably like 7 or 8 years old whenever that came out, maybe a little bit older, um, but then so you had just a slew of Stephen King made for television
Every
movies after
book.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you had like the Langoliers, you
The
had
Stand.
the Stand, but then also you would have these really awesome like 5-part miniseries. Like I remember they did Merlin. They did like there was a whole period of time where they were taking all the old fairy tales and like redoing,
Yeah.
doing like some 5-part series on King Arthur or whatever, and I loved that stuff and I missed it. And I even remember sitting down, and I mean, as horrible as the Langoliers, the Langoliers is absolutely horrible.
Oh,
It
I
is the
haven't seen it.
worst.
I haven't seen
Is
it.
that the one where it's like little balls eating time?
I think so.
I get them confused.
And
But
then, but then you would
In
have
the-
like the Tommy Knockers, but then Salem's Lot.
Oh,
was
Tommy Knockers
really
is what
took-
I saw.
Yeah.
Is the one I was thinking of. I don't know Langoliers.
So it fluctuated. Sometimes they were really good, sometimes they were really bad. But that was my generation of the made for
And then they
television.
did Rose
movies
Red.
oh yeah.
They did Rose Red. That was late '90s. But then
That's the
Dean
girl
Koontz.
from Halloween Town.
Is it?
Oh, it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the yeah, and then Dean Koontz got a few. Fox had a deal with Dean Koontz, I think, and so they did a few past watchers and stuff. But they did one with Jeff Goldblum, I think.
I
What's
remember
the
watching The Shining, the miniseries one.
the
The Shining.
Mick Garris? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
a good
Steven
one.
Weber, right? That was the
Mhm.
Wings guy. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the Dean Koontz one where it had? So I read the book of this one, but I can't remember what it was called. But it had the guy who played in Scrubs, who was like the funny asshole doctor who was like the boss over them.
Oh, the guy from Platoon.
Yeah, and he was the
Oh.
bad guy. He was the bad guy. He was like he was a serial killer, but he was also a cop.
I don't know, but now I want to watch it. So
And
Yeah.
it was apparently really good. Andy had like these pit bulls, and he kept people in his basement and stuff.
And that was based on a Dean Koontz novel.
I'm pretty sure it was a Dean Koontz novel. Pretty sure.
Probably. Intensity, I bet. It's called
Yes,
Intensity.
that's it.
Yeah. 97
that's-
from Intensity. I don't remember the book. I didn't read that one. I did read a lot of Koontz. I actually have read more Koontz than King. But yeah, I haven't seen that one.
That needs to be a shirt.
More
That needs
Koontz
to be
than
a
King.
Richard shirt. I'm
More Koontz
I'm
than
more
King.
Koontz than King.
That's actually a really good idea.
And then you can make one I'm more King than Koontz.
Yeah. I'm
Get
more
both the
Goosebumps
bands.
than all y'all.
I'm really sad that I missed the Goosebumps phase. Like I've watched them as an adult
Yeah.
just because like they're on Netflix and stuff. But I mean I was like way a teenager by then. Like
Did you miss the more scary stories to tell in the dark? Or no, I'm sorry. What's the Nickelodeon one?
no,
Are they-
that Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mhm.
That one caught me a little bit at the front, but then I lost interest. I mean, so I don't remember a lot of those. So I mean, I honestly Tales from the Crypt hit me because I was like 16 probably. So
I was like 2 watching that.
I think
don't know
though,
why.
after seeing these made for TV, like a made for TV horror film, and remembering back to even It and the Langoliers, and then if you go further back into the 80s and 70s movies like this, it just shows me how great Night Gallery was. Night Gallery and the Twilight Zone as television horror is just, it's like
I've never
top of
seen
the
a
bar.
lot of Night Gallery. I've not seen a lot of that. I've seen more. I mean, I've seen Twilight Zone a ton.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Twilight Zone. I bought the. I was telling Jeff this the other day. I bought the remake from the early 2000s of Twilight Zone, and it's actually really good. Like Forrest Whitaker is the guy. is the guy that introduced everything, and but it has some really good episodes. I mean,
Well,
I
it
really
was there
love
was
that.
a failed relaunch before
Was
COVID that had
it was
Jordan
Jordan
Peele.
Peele? Yeah,
Yeah,
Did that
I
go
think
one or two? Did that go two? End
two,
up on two?
two, and then we also got the failed relaunch of what's the Steven Spielberg?
Amazing Stories.
Yeah,
But
Amazing
that went on.
Stories. So,
That was on Apple, wasn't it? So it was like,
yeah,
I mean,
Now
an Apple.
Apple's picking it up and really putting
I
it out, all
think
the good
I
stuff.
think that the era of the made for TV, I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Well, now they're just making them for Disney Plus and Netflix, right? Like
Yeah,
now it's
but
just. But
They're
these are
still
big
so big budget
blockbusters.
compared to
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but because it was cable, there was parameters. So what you end up getting is these movies that have these really cheesy feel to it without getting overboard, without having gore, or like if you think about it, if you go back and you watch even it, it's like it's not scary, but there's something quirky about it that only works because it is made for TV and it's built within the parameter of a made for TV. And this fits right in that category. It's like they probably had a location, a small budget, and they said, "What can we do? Uh, anybody
And
got
then
some
this guy
glue and
in the
pepper?"
back, this guy in the
Yeah.
back is like, I have an idea.
I really like ants.
What do you
I
think
don't.
about
You know what else has a cheesy feel? Our buddy Jason down at the dungeon in Maryville, Tennessee, right below Southland Books. You can hit up the dungeon on Instagram at Southland_dungeon. You can find all sorts of good stuff down there, including Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS, video games, comic books, old vinyl records, and he does cater more toward the horror side. So a lot of cool VHS horror stuff in there, and your favorite boutique Vinegar Syndrome titles, Severance, Synops, everything, all those things. I went down there today, and he had the Fun House from Tobe Hooper, which we've not done. He just
Did you
got that
just
in.
call him Tobe Hooper?
Is
Old
it
Tobe?
Toby?
Toby.
Old
Whatever.
Tobe? I gotta take this
I mean-
David Draymond thing out.
Is it Toby Hooper?
It's
Who knows?
Toby. It's not Old Tubes. Old Tubes Hooper.
Tobes, Toby, Topher, Christopher, who cares? So anyway, yes, he had the Funhouse in today, so he just gets all that stuff in. So if you need to fill your collection, you can go there. Follow him on Instagram, and if you see something, if he posts something you like, just send him a message. If you don't live here, he will ship it to you. You can go to southlandbooksandcafe.com for more information.
And I can't think of anyone better to describe as someone with ants in their pants as Jason. He can't stand still. Dude's just all over the place. He's just...
It's true. He stands a lot. Stand in the place that you work. Sorry.
I'll tell you what I don't stand for.
Okay.
What are you doing?
This movie.
Okay. But
I stand and applaud for 6 minutes at the end. Even if Brendan Fraser's not in this movie, I still stand in my room clapping at the end of this.
Brendan Fraser, crying or not, I'm not clapping for that man. He's going to have to earn it. I haven't seen the damn movie yet, so I'm not going to feel good about it. Now, wait until we see the movie and it's complete trash, because let me tell you guys, every movie at the Cannes Film Festival gets a fucking 6-minute standing ovation.
So I saw one about a
Every
13-minute, and I was like, okay, is this even about the movies anymore, or about how long people stand?
No, it's just how they all want to smell each other's farts. That's all it is.
Well, to be fair, it's Darren Aronofsky, so it's probably going to be okay, but it's probably also not going to make any sense.
I love it.
If it's Darren Aronofsky, then my thought is it's going to be very depressing. because what we know is he's like 700 pounds, and I already feel bad for this guy. I do, and I feel like seeing him just eat himself to death is just going to make me really depressing, and also possibly motivate me to go to the gym more than I already do.
Well, you know what's funny? I was watching an interview with Darren Aronofsky, and he had this movie is 10 years in the making, not because of funding or anything like that, but he didn't know he couldn't cast anybody in the role. So what's it say that he's like, oh, Brendan Fraser, you're the guy. You're the fat guy. But
I'm assuming he's
love
wearing a fat suit. In the movie.
yes.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help he doesn't look like George of the Jungle.
No, I mean that's who does?
Him,
You're not going to look like George of the Jungle at that age. So okay. Richard, when did you first see this movie? Because we talked about how
this
we
afternoon.
Seen this movie. Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard about it, but I mean, I found out. It came into my mind because Ants just got released. What, like 2 months ago, Jeff?
Yeah.
So
not too long ago, the Kino Classics or whatever.
Running out of material, dude.
So Terror from the Sky. And
they really
Tarantulas, Dangerous Cargo. Was the third?
Yeah. So I mean, and I mean, look, that's the cover I saw. So I was like, I got to get it.
See, I thought we were gonna get something more like akin to like Kingdom of the Spiders. I don't know if you guys ever saw Kingdom of the Spiders.
This was more like Arachnophobia.
No, go fuck yourself. not Arachnophobia, okay? Unless the only way I'm going to be afraid of little bitty black ants is if they either crawl in an orifice or down a urethra or something.
But see, I think the movie does succeed some, where it's like you just get the heebie-jeebies because they're moving around and all that. I mean, I think it succeeds in what it is trying to do. I mean, especially when I looked it up and I knew it was a TV movie going into it, so my expectations weren't crazy high. I think that's why I liked it, is just because I knew it was a TV movie, and it took me back to the day where TV movies existed. And it's funny
because have a TV movie month.
Yeah, that would be cool. We could do it. We could do it just with Stephen King. Well, Jeff, Severin put out that box set, right? Or did Vinegar?
For what?
The TV movies.
Vinegar Syndrome did.
I think it's televised.
Televised Terror.
Yeah, televised terror. So it was very much like movies like this in a way. Yeah. I think they had more to do with like thrillers and like.
Oh, this was on televised terror?
I think.
No. This wasn't. But I'm just saying.
Also had one that was called like Primetime Panic. That was.
Oh yeah.
My favorite made-for-TV movie is called Buried Alive. Has anyone ever seen Buried Alive?
It sounds terrible. I can't, dude.
Okay.
Every once in a while, hold on. Every once in a while on my TikTok, I'm scrolling through, right? Scrolling. Half-naked chick dancing, cat video, scrolling. And somehow a cave thing gets onto my screen where they're like cave climbers but it's all videos where they're stuck, like where the opening is like a foot and a half wide and they're trying to get through it and it's like I can't.
Or it's like the true story of the guy who got stuck in the cave and they just had to pour semen in there because he died upside down or some shit.
I hate shit like that.
He chose the life of spelunking, okay?
Yeah. He's
spelunking.
Also the movie Turistas, Jeff tried to get that on the show before.
Are you talking about
No, the Turistas, where they go swimming and they're underwater for like 10, 15 minutes of the movie. I can't do that shit either. I can't do the Descent. I can't do stuff where like you're just swimming or in a thing. Or
Guess what next month is? It's stuff Richard can't do on the podcast.
Yeah. So, Buried Alive is actually a really great, I'm sorry, that's hyperbole. I remember it as a really great movie. The plot
It's not
was
the Ryan
fantastic.
Reynolds movie?
No. This was about a couple, and the guy was cheating on his wife, so he poisons her to go so that she would die, and then he can live his life with his mistress or whatever. And he poisons her, and then they think she's dead, so they bury her, and then she wakes up and she's like in the ground, and she digs herself out. She finds out
like Kill Bill.
But she finds out everything that's happened, and she breaks into the house while they're gone, and she decides to booby trap the house.
Oh,
so she
hell yeah.
builds tunnels, and then whenever the husband comes home, like, she's like, if you don't go into the house, I'm going to call the cops. And he's forced to go in, and he's having to navigate these tunnels inside the house.
I want to see this.
So I just looked it up right now. And is it the one from 1990 with Jennifer Jason Leigh in it?
That's it.
Ooh, I love Jennifer Jason Leigh, especially in the 90s.
Frank Darabont directed it.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Oh, we need to watch that.
I bet you it's great.
Jeff, it looks like you're in a brothel.
Maybe I am.
Looks like you're in a fucking speakeasy during Prohibition time.
He's like wearing a beret, and like they're all like snapping.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna transition. Y'all just keep going. Just ignore me.
Okay. Well, we usually do.
The TV thing, I do dig it. Buried Alive was another one. Now that I'm thinking about it, Kino put that one out. They did Scream, Pretty Peggy Scream. They did I think one just called like Scream something.
Do you remember?
You're saying the one that I was talking about has been put out?
Yeah, on Kino. Kino also put Buried Alive out.
Need to get that one.
Let's get
do y'all remember Baby Jessica?
No.
Oh my gosh.
The one
I remember that was
well?
like my yes. The one that fell down the well.
Yes.
I saw that live on TV. Like, I was old enough to where I think I was like 10 when that happened. And like it was just 24. It was just on the TV all the time. I mean, it was just the most riveting thing ever. As a kid, I loved it. I mean, like, because they had it. I mean, they had a camera. Like, you watch them try to get her.
Well, I actually listened to a podcast about that, and it's like, I'm pretty sure that is in like the top 100 most pivotal moments on television. It was like that and the Challenger space for my life.
I saw both of those.
9/11
whatever. Wait,
9/11,
did you see the Challenger erupt in class?
Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
The teacher was like, okay, next. We'll just turn that off.
I remember 9/11 watching that on the TV in the classroom.
That's
I was graduated at that point.
You were like, I'm who?
That just shows, like, society's need to want to like watch terrible stuff without like not looking away. You know what I mean? They want that like 24-hour news
car
cycle
crash.
coverage,
Yeah,
and
you are describing the underlying theme for Nope.
I mean, somewhat.
Somewhat. Okay, so I don't know what kind of world these made-for-TV movies exist in that's pre like 85, but I'm willing to give a few more a shot. But if they're all this level of brilliance, I could probably do without. I'll probably just stick to my 90s television made-for-TV movies.
I like them, man. I don't know. There's something about them. And I love the cast. So, like, dude, that Foxworth guy, I love watching him. I just like him. He's great in Prophecy. He's great in this. I mean, the story's a little weak, whatever. Suzanne Summers was in this. The Bernie Day, whatever his name is, he was in this. It's great.
Billy Van Dyke.
Billy Van Dyke
You
was
also have to kind of think like the movies like this always
very,
had kind
very.
of like an underlying theme, like a message, like and this one seems like it's an environmental message. Like, look what we're doing, we're polluting the earth.
Well,
It's like an after
especially
school
the
special.
70s. Well, the 70s was like the environmental horror, right? Like, I mean, that, that's, yeah, environmental
Well,
stuff
the 50s
happened
was
in this.
you had the nuclear, everything was, we
Mhm.
dropped the bomb and now this praying mantis is massive. By the way, has anyone ever seen Mantis, which has one of my favorite special effects scene where it's just a dead mantis on a string and they're blowing dirt to make it look like it's flying through the air. And it's just a dead mantis. You can tell it's a dead mantis.
I've not seen that one.
Nope.
So, all right. Well, I want you to rate this first, Matt, because you're going to be the low point, I feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a. My heart tells me 1.5.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'll go next. So I'll redeem it a little. I'm gonna give it a 3. I honestly do like it.
Wow.
I do like it.
Look at
And like I
that.
said, watching it now and then seeing that it was this movie and not The Swarm, that's cool.
I think it would be
Can
funny
we
to
go
do.
back? Because I think you also gave Texas Chainsaw the remake a 3. So,
I'm
Oh,
all over the
well,
place.
you can't.
I'm
Yeah,
joking. I'm joking.
if you
You
go
can't.
back
You can't.
and judge
You can't.
everybody, you judge all of them, because you look at different movies in different ways, right? Like
I gave
because
Texas
this
Chainsaw
gets.
Hooker a 5. Okay, I get. I get that was my first 5. Okay.
You did 2 5s in a row.
Mm-hmm.
We got to pick Jeff a movie to do a 5. He hasn't done one yet.
I'll get there.
But I think if you know it's a TV movie and you know some of the background behind it, I think that bumps it up a little. I'll go
feel
with
you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
I
I've
mean,
never had a 5 in my life either, so don't worry.
Yeah.
They're all like, "How was it?"
So,
All
all right. I don't know.
Now,
2.5. Really, 2.5 for me. I'll say 2.5. But I mean, I do like this movie. I mean, I own it now, so I have to.
By law of the $20 purchase, you're
Yeah.
forced to like it.
Oh, I think it was a $24.99 one. I don't know. I think it was up there. So this drops on a Wednesday, and tomorrow morning at 9:00, Trash Talk starts on YouTube. So we've been doing this show on Trash Talk for Tingler Television, and the season is about to wrap up, our season 1. And so we're going to be releasing them on YouTube. So you can follow Night of the Nerdy Laser on YouTube. You can now watch this podcast on YouTube. So, and we're going to be doing the Trash Talk, and we're going to be doing interviews with people. I just interviewed Mark Norwood from MetrothemCon, which we'll be headed to next May in Chattanooga. So look up MetrothemCon.com, and we'll talk about more of that probably starting in January. But they have a great lineup of 90s stars, especially. And they just added, and I told Jeff this, and I put it out today. They dropped a bomb on our podcast. So watch YouTube, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever you got to do, and you'll get fresh news. And he announced Billy West is going to be there. And
Awesome.
Matt, I know, is probably that. I see that blank stare on Matt's eyes. But Billy West because he does the voice for just about everybody. Stimpy, Fry on Futurama. Well, most voices on Futurama. Disenchantment, he's been on. He was Doug Funny and Doug. So I'm really excited about meeting him.
Wait, he was Doug?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. He's Doug. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, Billy West has been around forever, and I mean, I've always heard really good things about him. and I've heard he's really nice. And I've heard you don't ask him what he thinks about Hollywood actors doing voice work. Don't ask him that. It will go on a tangent.
I'm gonna ask him.
We'll get it on video. So yeah, we're doing all sorts of really interesting stuff lately. Jeff is going to be in town, so we're going to be doing some live stuff. So look for that on YouTube. We're going to be posting stuff. We're going to be doing next week's episode. We're going to be doing Mimic. That's Matt's pick, and we're going to do that on the road probably. So Matt, you better watch it before this weekend.
And who directed Mimic?
Oh, are you talking?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro, motherfuckers. Guillermo del Toro.
So yeah, so we're expecting to do a few things on the road because we're going to be traveling to Chattanooga and North Carolina. So it should be fun. I'm really excited about it. And then we haven't picked movies past Mimic, so we'll have to sit down and talk about that this week. And then we'll pick a gimmick and go with that. So yeah, you guys good?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we're good. I rated it.
1.5. Don't remind me.
1.5 ants. So it's just the back plosaurus of the ant.
Well, how do you know what that's called?
I just made that up. I don't know what that.
Oh, well, you shouldn't have told me that. I would have thought you were a genius.
It's like last
Ants
week
have,
when
like,
the
3
mosquito
parts?
was peeling back its hibiscus. I wonder if an ant has hibiscus.
Dude, still the funniest thing I've ever heard is Bert.
Oh man,
I really can't. Okay, well, we appreciate you guys watching us on YouTube. If you are, please subscribe. If you're listening to us, keep doing that, and we'll see you next time. And you should probably keep it bloody.
keep it bloody.
Because somebody has to, and make sure to murder the ants. Murder ants and murder your fucking aunt because she's a bitch. No, I'm joking.
Whoa! That, to be fair, that was probably a TV movie.
Murder your aunt because she's a fucking bitch.
Full title.
Full title.
It was retitled in 2004 for the DVD release, though.
Yeah, my aunt's a bitch.
Don't
So I
tell
killed
mom
her.
I killed my bitch aunt.
Don't tell mom that my bitch aunt is dead.
Adventures in murdering my bitch aunt.